Sleepless nights, that constant worry. If you're caring for someone you love with dementia, you know that managing their sleep can feel like one of the most isolating and just plain exhausting parts of the journey. But I want you to know you are not alone, and there are real strategies that can bring some peace back to your home. Today, we're going to walk through a practical plan to help you do just that. So let's just get right to it. This question, it probably hits very close to home, doesn't it? The sheer exhaustion of those nights, the worry that comes with the wandering, it's one of the toughest parts of dementia care. So let's figure out why it's happening, and more importantly, what you can actually do about it. Okay, so here's the heart of the problem. It's this incredibly frustrating feedback loop. You see, dementia can damage the part of the brain that acts like an internal clock, which totally messes up the sleep-wake cycle. That leads to poor sleep. But then, and this is the tough part, that lack of sleep can make dementia symptoms like confusion and agitation even worse the next day. Our goal? It's to break that cycle. And the good news is, there is a way forward. We've broken it down into a 4-step action plan. First, we're going to put on our detective hats. Second, we'll open up what we're calling a non-drug toolkit of strategies. Third, we'll talk about the power of emotional support. And finally, we'll cover the really important question of when it's time to call in a professional. All right, step 1. This is all about changing your approach, because before we can even think about a solution, we have to really understand the problem. And that means we stop guessing and we start observing. We become sleep detectives.
So what kind of clues are we looking for? Well, your detective work is going to focus on 4 key areas. First, you're just going to record the basics. When are they waking up? How often? Second, take a good look at the bedroom. Is there too much light? Is the ticking clock too loud? Third, pay attention to their daytime routine, especially napping. And finally, you're going to make a note of their mood and maybe even review their medications with a pharmacist, because both can have a huge impact on sleep.
And look, this log does not need to be complicated at all. We're talking about a few simple notes on a piece of paper, but it can reveal some incredibly powerful patterns. All of a sudden, you might realize, oh, wow, the 1 a.m. wandering always happens when the streetlight outside is brightest, or that the agitation at 8 p.m. is tied to watching the evening news. These little clues, they're the foundation for everything that comes next. Okay, so once you've gathered your clues, it's time to open up your non-drug toolkit. These are the go-to strategies that experts recommend trying first, mainly because they get to the root causes of the sleep issues without all the risks that can come with medication. Our first, and honestly one of the most powerful tools we have, is using light and a solid routine to work with the body's natural rhythms, not fight against them. So the whole goal here is to help reset that internal clock we talked about. Getting some bright, natural light in the morning basically shouts to the brain, hey, it's daytime. Keeping a consistent schedule reinforces that message, and then dimming the lights in the evening sends the opposite signal. Okay, time to wind down. It's simple, but it's so effective. Next up in our toolkit, getting some physical activity during the day. It's pretty straightforward, right? A body that has moved and used some energy is a body that's going to be much more ready for rest at night. The aim is to create a natural, healthy sense of fatigue by bedtime. And the key here isn't to force some grueling exercise routine. It's all about a gentle invitation. This example is perfect. It connects the activity to something pleasant, like seeing flowers. It feels less like a chore and way more like something enjoyable you can do together. Now for our third strategy, which is all about the physical space itself. The bedroom really should be a sanctuary for sleep. It needs to send a clear, unmistakable signal to the brain that this is a place for rest and nothing else. Every one of these little details really matters. That temperature range, around 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit, might sound a little cool, but studies show it's absolutely ideal for sleeping. Blackout curtains are a game changer for light pollution, and getting that TV out of the bedroom, that removes a huge source of mental stimulation that can totally sabotage sleep. And our final tool in this section is all about what we put into our bodies and creating some calming rituals. Think about it. What we eat, what we drink, and how we wind down, all of it can set the stage for either a restless night or a successful one. Yeah, that 2 p.m. cutoff for caffeine is a big one. It can stay in the system for a surprisingly long time. And a predictable bedtime routine, like a warm bath and then some quiet music, is such a powerful nonverbal cue to the brain that sleep is coming. It just creates this wonderful sense of safety and predictability. I love this example. It is just such a perfect picture of what compassionate care looks like in the middle of the night. When someone wakes up confused, the response isn't frustration. It's this gentle redirection. It offers comfort, a listening ear, and a soothing ritual, like warm milk, to just ease them back toward rest.
And that leads us perfectly into our third and maybe the most important step of all. Because beyond all the physical strategies, your own emotional state is a critical tool. For someone who's feeling confused or scared, your calm, reassuring presence can be the anchor they desperately need.
You know, sometimes the simplest words are the most powerful. This one little sentence, it communicates safety. It communicates presence. It communicates love. It directly speaks to that fear of being alone, which is so often at the root of nighttime anxiety for people with dementia.
Never forget that you are a part of the therapeutic environment. Your tone of voice, a gentle hand on their shoulder, just listening to what they're saying without trying to correct them, all of these things create a sense of security that can honestly be more powerful than any sleeping pill.
And finally, we have to talk about step 4. Trying these strategies is so empowering, but it is just as important to know when you need to bring in some backup. You're a caregiver, not a doctor, and you are not expected to do this all on your own.
These here are the red flags. If their safety becomes a real concern, if you notice signs of something medical like sleep apnea, or if you find that the whole situation is just becoming too much for you to handle, that's the time to call the doctor. And please hear this. It is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of smart, responsible care.
So this really gets to the bigger picture, the whole philosophy of care. These non-drug therapies we've talked about, they should always be your first line of defense because they tackle the root causes. Drug therapy? Well, that's a last resort for managing really severe symptoms, and it has to be done under a doctor's close supervision because of the potential risks and side effects. So let's do a super quick recap of our 4-step plan. Number 1, be a detective. Observe the patterns. Number 2, use the tools in your non-drug toolkit, light, routine, activity, and environment, and be consistent with them. Number 3, remember that your calm emotional support is absolutely key. And number 4, know when it's time to ask for help. We have definitely covered a lot of ground, and I know it can feel like a lot, but you don't have to do everything at once. Real progress starts with just a single step. So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. Looking at everything we've discussed, what is the one small change you can try tonight?